Alexander Volkanovski just made history at UFC 314, the oldest champion to ever win a belt at 145, nearly 37 years old, and he gets the win against Diego Lopez, the number one contender. He looked like absolute prime Volk in there, and he showed that he is not washed, and I already had him very high on my GOAT list. I already thought that he was top 3 in my opinion. Right now, I think it's undeniable that he's top 3 in my opinion. I think he surpassed a lot of people tonight, and I think that there's not even an argument that he's not top 3. I just don't think so at all. And starting off with people saying that Volkanovski is not the featherweight GOAT, that is just insanity now. There is nothing you could say that Jose Aldo or whoever is better than Volkanovski. It's not even a question. Even before this, I thought when he beat Holloway the third time at 276, it was over. He's obviously better than Aldo. He already beat and dominated Jose Aldo. Aldo lost to Max twice. Volkanovski beat him 3 times. I already didn't think that there was an argument. If you're still saying that Jose Aldo is the featherweight GOAT after tonight, you just don't know the sport. Ilia Topuria, I get he beat Volkanovski. I think things may have been different in the rematch. I think Volkanovski may have had a little bit more success. I'm going to be honest, Ilia's much higher IQ than Lopez, who's more of a brawler. Not great technique, to be honest. Definitely not on the level of Ilia, but still, I just don't think that you could rate Ilia higher. Yes, he got Max and Volkanovski 2 knockouts. I just think the quantity for Volkanovski is just too high. Again, he beat Max Holloway 3 times. I just don't think that there's an argument at all. And who I believe that Volkanovski has surpassed now, in my opinion, he is better than Demetrius Johnson, and we have to stop pretending that DJ is the GOAT. He just isn't. I see so many TikTok comments, Instagram comments. Whenever someone calls Jones the GOAT, their hardcore take is like, oh no, Demetrius Johnson, he's the forgotten GOAT. Just because he's 125, he's actually the greatest of all time. He's very skilled, undeniable. Everyone who's in the top 10 is very skilled. He has a lot of crazy highlights, very fun fighter to edit. He is not better than Volkanovski. You just can't make the comparison. If you look at their losses in their career, Volk lost to Islam Makhachev, Ilia Topuria. You compare that to Demetrius Johnson, his losses, it's not even comparable. And at their old age, yes, Demetrius Johnson, he did end his career with a win. Very nice. But if you look at Volkanovski, he could retire at around the same age, and he would have beat Diego Lopez to win the belt at almost 37, which is insane. His resume is 10 times better than Demetrius Johnson. It's not even close. I don't care about title defenses. The quality of opponents is not even, it's just... Volkanovski, his resume just blows DJ's like out of the park. It's just not close. I just think that Demetrius Johnson, and it's not entirely his fault. He's very skilled. It's not his fault. He just was born, very small, whatever, had to fight 125. He made the absolute best out of it. He only lost really to Henry Cejudo at 125 that I could remember. And even that, he arguably won the fight and beat him the first time. But still, his best win is Henry Cejudo. And he's 1-1 with him. And Cejudo is good. I've always thought that he was a little bit overrated. I just don't think he's great. That's his best win. I think that Max Holloway 3 times is way more impressive. Then you throw in Diego Lopez, Jose Aldo. So many more. Yair, Brian Ortega. I just think it's not even close in my opinion. So I think right now there's no way you could say DJ is higher on the GOAT list than Volk. Unless you're just saying, I think he's more skilled and he just looks more skilled. I think that's really the only argument that you could make, and even then, I wouldn't agree with it. But still, moving on, Volkanovski, Anderson Silva, not even close. He's way better, not even close. I don't think that there's any argument. A loss is still a loss. Silva, he went out like Tony Ferguson, obviously not as bad as Tony, but still, he took a ton of losses, and he was losing at the same age when Volk won the belt back against Diego Lopez. And I know Lopez, I think that he's better than Yair. I don't think that he's the greatest of all time. Again, I think he's very low IQ. I think he showed that in that fight. His IQ is definitely not great. He's not a smart fighter by any means. He's athletic, he's big, he's powerful, and he's a lot better than the people Anderson Silva was fighting. I'll tell you that much. And Silva, a lot of people, again, very fun fighter to edit. People say, oh, he's in the Matrix. Look at him fight. He was so much better than everyone else when he was fighting. He did have the historic win streak against who? It's just the competition was not there. Chael Sonnen, okay. I mean, he nearly lost to him. He had to get like a Hail Mary to win that fight, similar to Leon versus Usman. And Chael was never that great. He was good, but he never was great. I think, honestly, almost a similar level to like a Yair or like a Lopez or something like that. And Volkanovski has those wins plus more. Again, he won the belt 36, nearly 37. He's probably going to win and defend again at 37. I just don't think that you could say Anderson Silva is better than Volkanovski or higher on the GOAT list. Moving on, Volkanovski versus Khabib. Not even close. I'm so sick of this debate. Khabib, I actually like Khabib. I think that he was entertaining. I think he was good for the sport. No way. I get people say, oh, he never bled, or like, oh, he never lost a round. Again, not true. Or, he obviously was undefeated. He never challenged himself like Volk. He never moved up to face the pound-for-pound number one fighter, Kamaru Usman. He never did that, ever. And he would say, oh, it's because we're friends or whatever, the same excuse that so many people make. It's so annoying to hear. He has actually a decent resume. I don't think his resume is bad. It just doesn't compare to Volk. It just doesn't. McGregor, Gaethje, there's a few, Poirier, obviously. Those are like the big three. People have beat those guys, though. And I get you could say the same thing about Max Holloway, but, I mean, he's been beat by Ilya pretty much. And I get Poirier as well, moved up short notice, whatever, earlier in his career. But it's just the quality of wins. I still think Volkanovski and Khabib, he could have been better. He could have been the GOAT. I really do think so. I think that his skills are actually kind of underrated now. I just think he didn't challenge himself, and I think for that you can't consider him the GOAT. He just didn't do enough. He retired way too early. Volkanovski, he stayed, some people would say he stayed for too long, and then people were saying that when he lost back-to-back, and then he wins the belt back at 36, almost 37. Absolutely insane. I think Volk is higher than Khabib on the GOAT list. I don't think it's close. Now, speaking of 155, what does this mean? Who is the 155 GOAT? So first off, I believe Islam is the greatest lightweight of all time. I think he's higher than Khabib. I think that he's higher, obviously, than Charles Oliveira. Other guys, obviously, Dustin Poirier. And I think now, I'm going to be honest, I think Islam is the other guy that's very disrespected on the GOAT list. I think Islam Makhachev, seeing how Volk looked tonight and knowing that Islam, yes, you could say the second one, 10 days notice, whatever, fine. We could just erase that one. Even if we erase that fight, he beat Volkanovski in his absolute prime, in his home country, where the weight cut was absolutely brutal. He had everything going against him, and he still beat him. It was not a robbery. I do not believe Volkanovski won that fight, even though it was razor close, and you could arguably give it to him. I don't really think so, but still, that is one of the greatest, if not the greatest win of all time. Up there with Dominic Reyes beating John Jones, because yes, he did beat him. If you rewatch the fight, it was not a robbery. Well, this one was not a robbery. That fight, Reyes-Jones, was a robbery, in my opinion. I think Islam, I think he moves up to the top three. I genuinely think that you could say Volkanovski, Islam, John Jones, top three of all time. I don't think I would argue, especially if you just look at their skill set. I do think Islam probably needs just one more quality win. The Armin pulling out kind of screwed him over, to be honest. He just needs to beat like an Ilya or move up and get that second belt. I could definitely see that happening. If he beats, I don't know if it's going to be Bilal, JDM, something like that. Oliveira again, Armin, something like that. He just needs one more. And I really do think that you could put him in the top three along with Volkanovski, in my opinion. That may be a hot take. I don't know. I think most people now are starting to realize the older generation, very talented, and a lot of those guys, Demetrius Johnson, Anderson Silva, they were way ahead of their time. They were way better than everyone else. But that also means they weren't facing the same level of guys that these two were. Two, I think, of the most disrespected GOATs. Maybe it's because they're still fighting, their legacy is still being made. But regardless, I think he moves up to the top three, in my opinion. Maybe he's four, maybe. But regardless, he is super close. And I think one more win, I think we have to say he's undeniable in the top three. And I'll say this much. Islam Makhachev, if he beats Ilya and then gets the second belt, he may be the greatest of all time. I would probably have him above Jon Jones if that happens. Moving on, Volkanovski, back to Volk. I think that he is better than GSP all time, higher than GSP all time. It's close. It's absolutely close, though. These right now, I think GSP, Islam, I haven't thought about it too much. I think these guys are all kind of in my top four with Jon Jones. I would have Volk higher than GSP. I would. I think GSP, he does have obviously a good quality of wins and quantity. He actually has both, similar to Volk. His losses, though, are much worse. Losing to Matt Serra, I believe getting knocked out when he was the champ. It's not even like, I think when Volk, he got knocked out at 170 at the very beginning of his career. I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong. GSP, I believe he was the champion when he got knocked out. Very bad loss. You cannot compare that to Volkanovski getting knocked out by Islam or Ilya. It's just not comparable. And I think Volk's wins are up there. Obviously, GSP did lose to him, but he did beat, I believe, Matt Hughes twice. That's a very good win, two very good wins. But right up there, you have Volk beating Max 3 times. He has the other wins too. Yair, Lopez, Ortega. Again, a ton of good wins. Jose Aldo. And people will talk about GSP winning the belt back at an old age, or not winning it back, getting the second belt and beating Bisping. With all due respect, Bisping, kind of the paper champion, to be honest. It should have been someone like Whitaker, Romero fighting GSP instead. And I honestly think that Volkanovski, I'm not having even mentioned so far the lighter man skill and how Volk just naturally, I believe, is more skilled, faster, and everything. But still, I think Volk, what he did tonight, winning the belt back against Diego Lopez at his age, is more impressive and a better win than beating Michael Bisping. I guess I get that Bisping was the champ and Lopez never was. I actually think Lopez is still the better win, in my opinion. I still think that Volk's level of competition was a little bit better. It's close. I lean Volkanovski. I think Volk proved tonight he is the better fighter. And that would put him right around top 2 of all time. Now, the last person, I've saved him for last, we all know, Jon Jones. This is the real debate, honestly. And it's so tough. I have here Volk over Jones, but it's so tough to call. You could say, oh, well, Jones, he never lost or whatever, and Volk, he did lose to Islam and Ilya. No, we have to count robberies. Jon Jones lost to Dominic Reyes, who performed great, is on a good win streak. He's back. He does look better than ever. It's still not a good loss. I mean, he got knocked out by Ryan Spann. Ryan Spann knocked him out in the first round, and Jon Jones went toe-to-toe and lost to Dominic Reyes. That's an awful win. Arguably lost to Thiago Santos, another really bad loss. That really could have gone to Santos. And if you look at the circumstances where he got injured in the fight, and it still was like a split decision, if he doesn't get injured, I think in the 4th or 5th, he probably wins the fight. But what gives Jones, I have him so high up, is because he did beat Daniel Cormier and Gustafsson. The first fight for both of those were insane. I do think he did beat both of those guys. I don't think any robbery or anything. The second fights, though, DC, no contest, doesn't count. Gus, too, that should have been a no contest. They had to move the entire arena. I personally don't really count that, to be honest. And if you look at he does have a ton of quantity of wins, and he does have some quality wins. A lot of his wins don't bring a ton of value. You have recently Stipe, means absolutely nothing. Anthony Smith, not the best win. Even Santos, not really a great win, to be honest. Ciryl Gane, heavyweight, not really a great win. He did dominate him, though. He did prove, even though Ciryl Gane isn't great, he proved that he's far ahead, similar to Anderson Silva and these other guys. But a lot of his wins, and again, guys a lot smaller than him, especially early on, where a lot of those they counted, but they weren't that valuable. They didn't mean much. They weren't as good as Volk's wins. However, oh, and you also have the fact he's a steroid cheat. He takes a ton of steroids. Volkanovski hopefully doesn't. I would hope not. And even though that doesn't completely discredit his legacy, we do have to knock it down. Where if it's close, and even if I'm leaning a little bit towards Jon Jones, I'm going to give the edge to Volkanovski because I know so far that he's natural. I could be wrong. I'm not training with him, but still. I do think that if Jon Jones beats Tom Aspinall at his age, that would be more impressive than what Volkanovski did. And I do think it makes him undeniably the GOAT if he does beat Tom Aspinall. But right now, he's ducking him. We'll see if they ever fight. But if he does not fight Tom Aspinall, and again, he's not doing what Volkanovski does, constantly challenges himself, even when it's stupid, fighting on 10 days' notice, I have to put Volk higher. I just do. He's challenging himself. Their resumes are a lot closer than people act. And right now, maybe I have a little bit of a bias, and honestly, there is a great argument that Jones is the GOAT because it's so close. And even though I guess Jones is a little bit ahead, but if he takes another loss to Tom Aspinall and Volk keeps on winning, 100% the GOAT, 100%. Volkanovski, he's back. If they do give Ilya the shot against Islam and Ilya loses and then he moves back down to 145, if somehow, some way, Volk is able to get a quick title defense, he's able to beat someone like Evelev, and then he's able to somehow win the rematch against Ilya. I know I'm just making stuff up at this point. He's the GOAT, not even close. But yeah, those are my opinions. I believe that Volkanovski, undeniable top 3 fighter of all time. I think he's top 2, arguably top 1. And if he looks like he hasn't slowed down at all, his conditioning is great. I think that he's on his way, even at his old age, to becoming the GOAT, especially if Jones sticks around and he loses to Tom Aspinall, in my opinion, or just doesn't fight him. But yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know where you rank Alexander Volkanovski. If you have him in your top 3, if not, why? If you have him in your top 3, if he's 2, 1, or 3. But yeah, that is it for me. Let me know what you think. And yeah.